All right, let's see. We're on countdown. Hello, 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 and welcome to the Thursday Night Live Deeper Dive. My name is Reverend Eric Ovid Donaldson. They call me the Dean. I'm the Senior Associate Minister here at Unity of Sacramento's International Spiritual Center. And here with me on this hot spring day is none other than David Cook. How are you, David?
I'm well and wonderful, and when you started talking, I started smiling because I know tonight's going to be an awesome deeper dive.
Oh,
I can
you
feel it.
say it, but you say that every Thursday.
No, this one for sure. And you know why I know?
Why do you know?
Because the Sunday service, I don't even have words for it. So we'll get into all that. We don't want to let them know what's coming.
It was a great service,
It was.
and it was coming off of our crab feed fundraiser.
Yes.
So it was just the perfect timing for the type of topic that we had, and you just saw everything coming into sync. Yes,
For sure. The energy of the weekend was just undescribable.
it really was.
Yep.
You could feel the energy. The energy stayed in the room
Yes.
the entire weekend. And when, of course, a lot of that is us, but
Well, yeah.
because we worked really hard that weekend, so
Yes.
a part of us
And
remained
it
as
didn't
well.
even go away when they cleaned the carpets.
No,
it was
did not.
still here. I know.
Now the crab feed stench
Yeah.
went away. Thank
Yes,
goodness.
indeed.
That's an important thing. We didn't want this beautiful sanctuary smelling like SeaWorld, but but we had such a great time,
Yes, indeed.
and it was a wonderful Sunday service. So if you missed the service, that's okay. Just go to our archives and look it up. It's there by the date, and you can listen to the entire service. I was going to say the sermon only because we do have that service on there as well. But you really want to watch the entire service because the music was phenomenal, absolutely
Amen.
phenomenal. The meditation was fantastic.
It was
Mhm.
awesome.
Yeah, I wonder who did the meditation on Sunday. And it was just a classic. It was an instant classic Sunday service here at Unity of Sacramento. And so watch that later because right now we're going to take the deeper dive. We're going to take what we discussed on Sunday and we're going to go higher. We're going to go wider. We're going to go deeper, and we're going to have more. So find somebody to watch this with. Go ahead and get someone that's in your apartment, in your home. Go ahead and text somebody if you'd like, and get them in front of the monitor, and get here in time for our breathing space way of meditation. We always start things here with prayer and meditation. And here to start things for us tonight is David Cook with our meditation. And following the meditation, we'll just roll right into the deeper dive.
Thanks, Rev. So tonight's meditation is from our Breathing Space, a 52-week meditation journey for centered, soulful, and successful living by our very own Reverend Kevin Cottrell Ross and the man sitting with me here, the Reverend Eric Ovid Donaldson. They've done an incredible job putting this together. We really appreciate it. So let's dive right in. The word for this week is impressions. Impressions, and it begins with this affirmation. I am committed to my unique spiritual expression, leaving a beautiful and indelible impression on all I meet and encounter. I am committed to my unique spiritual expression, leaving a beautiful and indelible impression upon all I meet and encounter. Beginning with these words from Ralph Waldo Emerson. The purpose of life is not to be happy. It is to be useful, to be honorable, to be compassionate, and to have it make some difference that you have lived and lived well. You may have heard it said that we are one in the Spirit. We are also unique, individualized expressions of the Spirit, given an opportunity to make a good and meaningful impression. Take, for example, a fresh covering of snow. Each flake looks the same on the surface, yet differs the closer we look. Each snowflake carries an intricate, unique pattern. No two are the same. God makes spiritual impressions, wonderful ways in which Spirit works in, through, and as ourselves. And no one in the world can express exactly as you can do. I effectively express the goodness of God through the power of love. First, I love God, the animating presence and power that moves and inspires my soul. Next, I love myself, the creation that the Supreme Creator wonderfully made. And finally, I find ways and opportunities to express love to and for all, using the gifts and talents God gives me. What a beautiful way to leave unique and lasting impressions that reflect the glory of God. And now let's reflect as we go into the silence on this question. In what ways am I uniquely equipped to bless and impress those I encounter? In the silence. And that affirmation one more time. I am committed to my unique spiritual expression, leaving a beautiful and indelible impression upon all I meet and encounter. And I remember to breathe. And so it is. Amen.
Thank you, David. Appreciate that so much. And I hope that you are feeling revived and reinvigorated as well. Um, it's a hot one out there.
It is indeed.
Yes.
So we were talking a couple of weeks ago about the rain and the cold, and a few of us were saying, you know what's going to happen? It's going to be instant summer, and man, were we ever right about that?
Yes, yes. Oh my goodness. You know, I'm fairly new in Sacramento. Only been here, going on my 7th year now.
Yes.
So, and it's a far different thing on the other side of the nation,
Yes.
in D.C. and Maryland. So, this is very interesting. You know what is the most challenging thing to get used to coming to Sacramento? It's weather-wise.
Yes.
It's the height of the heat at 4 p.m.
Yes. Yes.
I'm just not used to that. Come 4 p.m., I'm like, oh, it's winding down. No, it's just revving
Ramping
up. Yes. Amazing.
Very different. I
It
grew up in
is.
Southern California, the same thing. It was, you had the coastal fog would come, the clouds would come in the afternoon. By evening, it was nice. You could open the windows. Out here, if you open the windows, it better be 2 o'clock in the morning, if you're lucky.
Yes. And if you're lucky, you'll get a little delta breeze
If you're lucky.
go by the household. Who do we have joining us today?
Well, let's see.
Well, we can start with those that are here, and we want to say hello to Mardell. I wanted to say Mardell and Terry. Thank you for being here and joining us. Also to Carla. Carla is here somewhere in the building. We know that she is close by. And then all of our AV team is here as well. Give them a round of applause, some thumbs up in the chat room, some love and likes. Wonderful. All right. So let's not waste another minute. All eternity lies within it. We had an incredible Sunday sermon that was entitled what was it entitled? Your divine, it was recognizing your divine guidance and activating your abundant flow. Listen up, recognizing your divine guidance and activating your abundant flow. And before we get into the highlights, I just want to get your general thoughts of if there was anything that really stuck out for you, resonated with you, um, and uh, and let's start there.
All right. Well, I know we're going to come back to this later, but certainly one of the highlights was when the minister told us all that we need to hook up. I'm not sure what he meant by that, but we'll find out. We'll find out in a bit. Trust me on that. So, my impression of the Sunday service, and I thought about this afterward, is it really is something where our mission says that we empower people to be a force for good in the world by awakening their divine nature. And in order to empower people, that means we're teaching people and we're saying, this is how you go about this, this is how we go about this. And I thought Sunday service was such a great example of that because, I mean, it was step by step. This is how you activate the divine flow. And I have to share, I shared this with Rev E before we started here. There are coincidences, but there are no accidents. Just last week, I started reading again In the Flow of Life by Eric Butterworth, a well-known Unity minister. And so when the title of the talk was to get into the divine flow, I thought, oh, yes, I'm flowing right along with what I'm reading at home. And like I said, no accidents. No
No,
accidents.
none whatsoever. That's fantastic. Let's check the. I know you were looking to see if there were anybody online, and then I interrupted you with the people who are here in person. Let's see who's online now, and we can shout them out and say hello to them.
Well, okay, so we have Marche. Marche, welcome.
Hey, Marche, so glad that you're online. We love you, we bless you, we appreciate you. We know that all is well and well indeed.
Yes, indeed. Candy Cook is online.
Candy, so happy to have you with us, Candy. Thank you for being on, and David would have it no other way.
Absolutely. And Tyrone Thornton is with us tonight.
All right, Tyrone, so glad that you're online with us, as you should be. You always check in. Even when you're here, you're checking in there.
And if you're on and you haven't checked in, please do so we can know, we know that you're there, but we want to be able to acknowledge you. So just leave a comment in the chat room, put your question if you have it, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Okay, so you mentioned hooking up. We will definitely talk about that.
Did I say that?
Because that was a funny moment, a very funny moment. But you're absolutely right. There were some memorable moments on Sunday, and moments that certainly connect with or hook up with other parts of our knowledge, of our being. I'm so glad that you mentioned Eric Butterworth, who happens to be one of my all-time favorite Unity ministers and authors, and some of what we talked about came out of some of his theological concepts and constructs.
Yes.
So I'm really glad that you mentioned that. Let's go to the first highlight, which is a long highlight, but it's about 10 minutes long, but stick with us, and we're going to really dive deep. We needed to set it up just right, though, so here it is.
This still small voice is eternally echoing in our superconscious or Christ conscious phase of mind. You have three phases of mind. You have a subconscious, which is connected to your heart. You have a conscious mind that's always making decisions and looking oftentimes outside of itself for the answers. And then you have a superconscious or Christ consciousness that when the conscious mind pays homage and attention to the Christ mind, it knows what to do. Because the Christ mind will never fail nor forsake you. The Christ mind will always tell you which way to go and how to go and why to go. The Christ mind is that mind that is seeking its fullest expression in each and every one of us. Am I making any sense this morning? And so the question is, how do we recognize our divine Christ guidance? How do we recognize when the Christ is speaking to us and no one else? How do we recognize when we are being told to go to the right side of the boat? And I want you to catch this. Get it? Fish, catch. You got to stay awake with me. I want you to catch this. If you're going to recognize your divine guidance, the first thing you want to do is hold up. What do? Hold up. In this day and age, there is so much vying for your attention that oftentimes it's so easy. It is so easy to have your attention drawn elsewhere, to the other side of the boat. Are you hearing me? So hold up. In other words, stop. Stop. The next thing you want to do after you hold up is hook up. What do? Hook up. Now this isn't what, now hold up now. Let me make this clear. Well, he said for me to hook up, so. Go back to number one. Hold up. Wait a minute. Calm down. When you are hooking up, you are connecting up with spirit. All right. Glad we got that resolved. All right, let's bring it back. All right. So hold up and stop, hook up and connect. How do you connect with spirit? Through the silence, through prayer, through meditation, the quiet, really the silence. The silence is powerful. The silence allows you to hear the still small voice and to recognize it as the Christ in you, seeking its fullest expression. You'll know it because it's love. You'll know it because it's joy. You'll know it because it's integrity. You'll know it because it's truth. If it isn't any of that, then go back to step one. Hold up. I'm looking for something that is like God. Scripture says God is love. Can't go wrong there. If it's of love, then I know that it is that Christ consciousness that is speaking to me. Anybody ever hear that still small voice? Raise your hands if you've heard the still small voice. So for those of you who don't have your hands raised, I just want you to see that I'm not making this up. Because there are often people, I've been there before, and like, I ain't never heard nothing. What you talking about? The still small voice. There is indeed a still small voice that is seeking to guide you and direct you rightly. Are you with me thus far? What's the first thing you do? What's the second thing you do? All right, and the third thing you do is listen up. God is trying to tell you something. And listen to that still small voice and what it has to say to you and for you in love. And once the message is clear, the next thing to do is look up. Look up. Because you're using your spiritual tools. You've prayed up and you have meditated up. But afterwards, once you got the word, once you got the message, once you've heard the still small voice, you've got to look up. Looking up means to expect something. Watch out. Say, watch out. Okay? Be aware that something good is about to happen. And sometimes you don't know how it's going to happen. You don't know the person, place, thing, situation, or circumstance that's going to unfold. All you know is it's unfolding. But when it comes in front of you, you'll know it. That's it. That's it. That's the one. It just happened. It just happened right outside this door. This is something that is not a one-time thing. It is a spiritual practice. It's something that you want to get into the habit of doing day in and day out. Hold up, hook up, listen up, and look up. Sometimes you might want to say look out, but I kind of like look up. Keep your head up, yes? It just happened outside this door where we're getting ready. David and I were getting ready to enter into the sanctuary. And then, sometimes you feel something. Maybe it's a gut feeling. Anybody ever here have a gut feeling? And it's not, what you ate in the morning or something like that. It's something different. It's something stirring right here in the solar plexus. Sometimes your hair might raise up on your arms or the back of your neck. Has that ever happened? Yes. But something happened, and I went, And I said, David, I'm going to go check in the booth here, and I'll be right back. And he said, I'll be right here. you know David. And so I went into the booth, and I said, how's everything, everybody? And they were there trying to say, we can't get on live stream. We can't get on live stream. I was like, okay, I've seen this before. We got to get behind this program, and there's probably something behind the program that is just needs to be clicked okay, and then suddenly you'll have access, and all of your buttons will work. And so Chris came back, and Chris knew exactly what to do. He came back, and he said, hold up. And we were on. Thank you, Chris. And thank you, AV team. You're on it. But something told me, hear me now, something told me, go check this out. Just make sure everything's okay. I was divinely guided and directed to the right side of the boat. Are you hearing me today? Is this helpful today? All right.
All right. Okay, that was a lot. That was a lot, and it was so rich with wonderful things that we can go over. I'm always going to start with you, David. I want to see what your takeaways were, and then we'll from there we'll go into those 4 steps. We'll make certain that we have those down, and a few other things that were mentioned in that highlight clip.
So I was thinking about this on the way in because I knew you were going to ask me this question.
Yes.
And what keeps coming to me is all of that was rich. Those steps are important and there's a process there. But at the end of the day, when you hear the voice and you receive the guidance, if you don't act on it, you wasted your effort. And so
Yes.
so like you going to the AV booth just before so you heard the voice. You could easily have said, they'll figure it out, it'll be okay. But you didn't. You said, Spirit is guiding me to take action. And you did. And that is without that, you're incomplete. And so it's completing what you've learned.
Beautiful insight. There is always something to do, something that must be done when you hear that still small voice. I also love the idea. Some people think it's an actual voice, and it can be. It can be, but it can also emanate, if I can use that word, in many other ways. It could be that tingle that's in your arm, or the hair that rises at your neck. You got to find out the way that God speaks to you. And the only way to do that, or the best way to do that, is to be in constant contact with Spirit. I remember my mom. My mom said something I'll never forget. She said, "Eric, make your bed." No, she said, she said, "I know the voice of God when I hear it. I know the voice of God when I hear it." And the question I have for everyone today in the deeper dive is, do you know the voice of God when you hear it? How does God pull your shirt tails? How does God speak to you? It could very well be something, a stirring in the soul, a stirring in the solar plexus, a gut feeling. It could be that you suddenly get warm all over. That could be something else as well, but we won't go into that. But you could have a warm sensation. It could be a tingle in the toes. It could be a skip in the heartbeat. How does God speak to you? And so this is an exercise in awareness.
Yes.
Okay, and hence the title, recognizing your divine guidance. It wasn't just about the divine guidance,
Right.
it was about how to recognize it and how the Spirit speaks to you.
There's a commercial on TV right now about, and it fits right in here because sometimes it's not just what you hear, but what you see. So the commercial is about a guy who's going to college and all the 11s, the number 11 keeps showing up. But it's important because he sees it and he hears it and it happens to him over and over again. And finally he says, "Oh, I get it. I'm supposed to do this." And off he goes, and he's now a multimillionaire making. No, that's not true. I don't know the end of the story, but it's true. But it's also true that how you recognize and how you hear it, you see it, you feel it, you know that you're in the presence, and then you take action.
Yes. And I happen to say the words, "something told me." That's the 21st century name for God.
Yeah.
Something told me.
Yes.
If you've ever said that, then you have had the experience of recognizing your divine guidance. Now, the goal and the work is deciphering what that something is for you. That something in that phrase, "something told me." Have you got it? So there's work here to be done. And it doesn't necessarily mean that that's the only way that God speaks to you. You know, some people, a good friend of mine used to say, some people just get a wisp of a wind that brushes across them, and they know that that's God. And then there are others that have to be beat on the back of the head, and they know, oh, God must be trying to tell me something. So find out what it is for you,
Right.
and you're halfway there. Now, with that said, let's take a little deeper of a dive and go into this process
Yes.
that you spoke of. What was the first step to recognizing your divine flow or your divine your divine guidance?
Hold up.
Hold up. Stop. Stop. This is really important because um, I started the conversation on Sunday talking about social media. Remember
great.
that? And how there's all sorts of wonderful things that could be done with social media and on social media. But there's also, with any innovation, there are things that have to be worked out, that have to be thought through. Because these innovations are game changers. And then it may be bringing something new, but it also might be taking something away as a result. And so any innovation, we got to think it through. Where is this taking us? How does this interact with everything else that I'm used to doing and being? And one of the things that we're finding about social media is that people really love the acceptance that it brings to each other. In other words, people like getting likes. Now, we knew that, okay, without social media. People like being liked. But this put it in social media put it in another way where we get an opportunity to post something on social media, and then we just wait and see how many likes we rack up. Yes? I got 60 likes for whatever it was that I posted. I got 90 likes. They're still liking me. I got more. And then they expanded it, and you got loves, you got hearts, and you got the little care, you got the thumbs up, you got all sorts of things that people can react with, right? And so we kind of, and when I say we, I'm talking about society in general. It seems as though there are people who do a lot of activity online simply for the likes,
Yes.
right? We know that's happening. And what's really, I'll put it in another way, our attention is being drawn. And so our attention is being drawn now more than ever. And if you're like me, you get on one of these social media sites and you say, I'm just going to check on a few things. I'm just going to check. And you start scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. And before you know it, it's bedtime. Before you know it, 2 hours have passed. And all you've done in those 2 hours is just see what the rest of the world is doing. It is an incredible game changer. And so it looks as though many people are seeking to draw attention with their likes to get as many likes as they want, rather than to pay attention. And so part of this process is to get us back into the practice of paying attention to what's available in all the good that's around us, not just the good that is on the social media site. You've probably hopefully it isn't you, but you perhaps have come across people out in in society, out in the open, out on the streets in the cities, who have their heads down in their smartphones, walking across the street, unaware of anything that's happening around them. Have you seen that before?
Yep.
Yeah,
True confessions. I've done that before.
yeah,
I'm just telling you right now.
yeah. And luckily, I saw you, and
I
I
appreciate that. I
drove my
appreciate
car around you.
That was very kind of you.
You know, the point is, there is more than what meets the eye. There's more to life. There's more to God. There's more to good, more good that's out there than what is in the bubble that we call our social media. It's a good thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, the social media. I'm simply saying that there's more to life and more to like and more to love than what is on those platforms. And so, with that said, we talked a little bit about how to activate or to recognize our divine guidance, so that when your face is in the smartphone,
Yes.
you'll know when to look up, right? So, with that said, first thing was
Hold up.
hold up. Stop what you're doing, especially if you're in a quandary, if you're having some difficulties, if you're in a challenge, and you have some decisions to make. Stop. Stop. Especially if there are some things that are happening to you and you feel like you need to react quickly. Stop. Why do I say stop? Because one, you don't want to do a knee-jerk reaction if you can help it. Because you want to, we're in a day and an age right now where there is so much going on that the wrong reaction
Yes.
can have tremendous consequences. And so going and recognizing and going to your divine guidance is very important. Stop what you're doing, if but just for a moment. And then number two,
Connect.
connect. Connect. I said hook up because you know I love wordplay.
Absolutely.
And the scripture that we talked about fishing. What connects with fish?
Hooking up.
Hooking up. Hooking up. Hooking up doesn't mean having some kind of sexual encounter with your friend. That's not how I meant it when I said it and introduced it on Sunday. Revelation. What I meant was this is the opportunity to connect with your divine center, to connect with God, to go into prayer, to go into meditation,
Yes.
to listen for the still small voice and be able to recognize it as it guides you and instructs you. But you got to stop first because it's operating underneath it, underneath all of the things that are vying for your attention, underneath all of the noise and the chatter that society has, all of the noise and the machinations of your people would call it monkey mind. I'm not going to call it monkey mind, but I'm going to call it all of the machinations, all of the analyzing, all of the paralyzing, all of the things that are going on in your conscious mind as it's trying to figure out what the next move is going to be. Stop, calm that down, and then go to the Christ mind where your answers will flow. Let me show that on the board. Does everyone remember this?
Oh, yes.
This is the threefold nature of our being. Do you recall this? This is good stuff right here. We introduced this a couple of weeks ago. I'm going to just put threefold nature of you, or us, of all of us, yes? And we have three folds. We are spirit, we are soul, we are body. Spirit, soul, body. And by soul, soul in the Greek means psyche. And if we're talking about the psyche, then we're also talking about mind. Mind. Yes? And so, spirit is God. God lives, moves, and has its being in us, and we live, move, and have our being in God. It was Paul that said we live, move, and have our being in God. And it was Jesus that said that God also lives in us, and that we are the temple of God. What's that temple? That temple is our body temple. Have you ever heard that term before? Body temple? And so if we are threefold in our being, this middle portion is so important. The conscious mind is that part of our soul, that is seeking to execute something. I don't mean shoot to kill. I mean trying to make some decisions and to execute it, to implement the decision. And so it has a way of looking at all the data. It is trying to figure out what's the best direction to go. And oftentimes it looks outside of itself in order to figure out what the conditions are. How do we do this? We do this with our five senses. You know those five senses. Sense consciousness is another way of putting it. We have eyes to see, we have ears to hear, we have a nose that smells, we have a tongue that tastes, we have a touch that feels. And all of these senses brings in data from the outside, from our immediate surroundings. Have you got it? Now, this is important because if we're continuously seeking the answers from the outside, from what we are sensing and using our five senses to navigate this earth with, then we're going to miss some data. And so where can we go to get the rest of the data? Because if we're making decisions based upon just that data, there are going to be some moments, not all the time, sometimes we're going to be spot on with the decision that we make. But there are going to be other times where we just don't have that far of a reach. We can't touch what we need to know from our sense consciousness. We can't see that far with our sight. We can't hear fully what's there with our ears. We can't smell fully what there is to smell, kind of like carbon dioxide. You can't smell that, but if you're only going on what you smell, then you're not going to be around longer if you're in the midst of carbon dioxide, yes? And that's why we got a smoke detector and a carbon dioxide detector that can sound an alarm if it's able to do it. And that's a great invention. And God is the same thing. God can sound an alarm. God can send you a signal, a message, a sign that you may miss if you're simply going with your senses, your sense consciousness. So what can you do consciously? What can you do intentionally? You can go right here into the superconscious phase of mind, which is also called the Christ mind. be this mind that is in Jesus also in you. Be this mind that we see in Christ Jesus, may it also be in you. The Christ mind. Now, what is this Christ mind? What is this super consciousness? This is the part of us, the part of our mind, the phases of our thinking that is aware of God fully and completely. It's aware of spirit, and there is an interaction that is going on between the two. Spirit is ever, is eternally interacting, ever interacting with the Christ. The Christ, why is it? Because the Christ is that part of God that is seeking its fullest expression through you. It is that spark of divinity that is within each and every one of us. It is our divine connection to God. It is God that is coming into our mind, into our awareness. Have you got it? Now, so this is why it is important that we can recognize, the conscious mind must recognize the Christ mind. It should operate under the auspices of the Christ. When it does, then look at the flow. Look at the flow that occurs as a result. Watch this. The Spirit speaks to the Christ mind. The Christ mind informs the conscious mind. The conscious mind connects with the subconscious mind. In other words, the heart of the matter, the feeling nature of our minds. And manifestation occurs in our body of affairs. It could be our physical body, it could be our physical surroundings, but a manifestation of what has been communicated through the Christ to us, through us, and as us. Have you got it? This is how it works. So, first thing you do is stop, hold up. Second thing you do is connect, hook up. Oh Lord, I raise my soul to thee. Oh Lord, Spirit, I raise my soul to thee. In other words, you are taking your mind, and through your meditation and through your prayer practice and through this process that we're introducing you to, you are bringing your attention away from the world. You're bringing your attention away from social media. You're bringing your attention from the dire straits and challenges, and not judging by appearances, but judging by with righteous judgment, and raising your awareness to the Spirit. When you place your attention on the Christ mind, your attention is here. This whole thing is attention, but conscious mind is where you work. That's where you decide what it is that you're going to do. Have you got it? You're going to see this threefold nature diagram time and time again, because it is so good in helping us to understand it helps us to understand how beautifully and wonderfully and magnificently we have been made to think. Notice, I'm not telling you what to think. I'm just showing you how we have been marvelously made to think so that you can follow a process in thinking until it is automatic. It's secondhand. It's it's your default. Rather this be your default than social media be your default. Rather you learn how to place your attention on your Christ mind than to make decisions based upon disinformation or misinformation or lack of complete information. Any comments or questions?
I think this connects well with our conversation that, and you just mentioned this just a second ago, we may choose to be unconscious. That's a choice that we can make. When we decide to operate from consciousness and to actively seek the divine guidance you're describing, it's there. And people often ask, this is in Unity 101, one of the most common discussions is, well, how can God be omnipresent? Trust me, the cursed how, I don't know the answer to the how, I just know that it is. And the reason I know it is because when I look for God, God is always there. And so this conscious choice of saying, what am I looking for? Am I looking for negativity? Am I looking for drama? And anything I look for, I will find, right? So it's important that I know that I'm looking for the right thing, that I'm fishing on the right side of the boat.
You got it.
Can I stay in your class?
You have passed. That's fantastic. Okay, any questions out in the audience? And if you have any questions online, please put it into the chat room, and if we can, we'll get to it. It is getting late already. Can you believe that? But
Yes.
we're going to finish up. We're going to finish up. Any questions? Pretty good? Okay, great. They say, it's all right. Okay, we'll try it. Hey, listen, you don't have to believe it. As a metaphysician, that's who we all are. As a student of truth, we just want you to try it. Try it on for size and see if it works for your life. You have agency of your own life, and therefore you get to choose. As David said, we are constantly choosing, and we want to encourage you to try some things that we feel will help to enhance your life. It's just that simple.
But one thing about this that I do want to caution. If you want to try this, I ask that you look to see how it's working, because you can spend a lot of time saying it's not working for me. So put that aside, hold up, put that aside, say, let me see what is working for me.
Yes, yes. Go into this open and receptive. That's the best way, because there's a scientific way of putting this that I'm missing, but you can go into this experiment and your very attitude the lack of objectivity can ruin the experiment before it ever starts. So be open and receptive to what the results might be. Would it be okay if your life got better? Would it be okay if your relationship was on the mend? Would it be okay if you got some guidance, some inner guidance that was filled with love, that gave you instructions, that solved some of the most difficult and challenging problems in your life? Would that be okay? And if so, then this is something that we offer you. All right. let's go to the last. There's a lot that we still miss, but we're probably going to have to do a part 2 on this one because this is just so rich. So rich. Let's go to the second highlight and see what that's all about. Not as long. We'll be right back.
Listen, this is the distinction between sense consciousness and Christ consciousness. The conscious mind wants information so that it can make decisions. But oftentimes it goes to the sense consciousness and makes decisions before it has gotten any kind of advice from the Christ consciousness. Now, the sense consciousness has its place. Sense consciousness is what gets us navigating this earth. It helps us to navigate the earth. You got eyes that can see, you got ears that can hear, you got a nose that can smell, you got a tongue that can taste, you got a touch that feels, yes? And we use all the information, all the data that comes from these senses. But here's the rub. Touch, rub, get it? Stay awake, y'all. Here's the rub. I don't care if you have all of your senses activating on how they say in the Motor City, all cylinders firing. It's always going to miss something because it's operating in a temporal realm, a temporary realm that is ever changing. You get that? And so just when you think you got all there is to know, you might make a decision and find out that there was something else that wasn't said, or that you didn't see, or that you couldn't hear, or that you didn't smell, or that you couldn't taste, or that you couldn't touch. It was out of reach to you.
Wow. Okay. So you mentioned something about omnipresence, and it's like wrapping our minds around omniscience and omnipresence and the omni-God, as I like to put it, and omnipotence. You know, this energy intelligence that is eternally everywhere all at once. What is that? What is that? And I think a lot of times we can't wrap our minds around it for 2 reasons. One, we think in terms of human beings when we think of God. We anthropomorphize God. Yes? Anthropomorphism. Say anthro. Pomorphism.
Pomorphism.
And all that is man making God in man's image likeness as opposed to God being, or man being in God's image likeness. That's all it is. And so we put a beard.
Yes. Yes, your point.
We put a beard on God and put features on God that are human and that reflect our ideal or our idea about what God could be like. So oftentimes God is a man because of the patriarchal constructs that we hold in our minds. So, well, it must be a man because God protects and men protect, therefore God must be a man. And so then we anthropomorphize God by making God a man. You get it?
Yep.
And so we do this constantly. And then before you know it, God is painted up on the Sistine Chapel, like this, waiting to be.
Posed for that.
Yeah, yes, that was me. That was me. It was me. So So anthropomorphism is one of the reasons why we can't wrap our minds around God, although God is mind and God is moving in us and through us and as us as mind. And my mind is the mind of God. You know, we know this, but to try to grasp it is difficult. Another reason why it's difficult is because, quite simply, we think in 3 degrees. We have 3 dimensional thinking, 3 dimensional thinking, and God is so much more multi-dimensional than that. And so, to think of God as being everywhere present is like, how could that be? Because I'm only in one place at a time. So we don't think outside of that third dimensional box, that maybe there's another way of being that allows there to be um, omnipresence. I often love to say that God is everywhere evenly and completely present. So all of God that's in me and with me and above me and beneath me and in front of me and behind me is right there with you in the same way, in the same manner, or any other manner that you choose. And the only question is, it's like water and fish. We are completely immersed in God, and God is completely immersed in us. The question is, to what degree are we aware of that expanse of God? How expanse is our God? You know, how do we hold God? Do we hold God in a way in which God can be present for us at any moment, at any time?
And I'm gonna go back to your picture
Mm-hmm.
because we think about this. We think about God here. This is what we think. Okay, this is one of the boxes here, and this box has limits.
Yes.
This the limits. It's often I've heard it said that when we think, we can only take things that have already happened and try to project, well, that must be how it's going to always be. But in this case, that's a limited look unless you follow this path, which you were describing earlier. And this is then how we get to. So it's being able to unlimit the way that we're thinking, and to be quite frank, it's an act of faith, right?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. We just it's a knowingness that is that when we have it, it allows for the inflow and the outflow of God to be as expansive as our concept or our thought or our faith dictates, our awareness dictates. And so if your God is anthropomorphized,
Yes.
then your God will have the same limits as you have. And you will interact with God in that way. And therefore, the inflow and the outflow of God will be a tiny stream relative to what it could be. It will be a trickle. It will be a trickle, and your flow is damned because of it. People don't realize that their concept of God, if I can use that term, your concept of God can affect how you feel and think about yourself. Why? Because you've been made in the image and after the likeness. And so if your God is anthropomorphized, and is a war god, then you might feel that the only way that you can get to where you feel you belong is by fighting for it. Hence, the Greek gods are often in contention with one another, yes?
Yes.
Okay. You can have another concept of God that eliminates the third dimensionality, expands it to an omni concept, an omnidimensionality, and as a result, feel freer to allow the presence of God, the presence of this infinite energy and intelligence to permeate your very being so that you always feel protected, you always feel free, you always feel the presence, you always feel provided for, you always feel there's plenty to share and plenty to spare and plenty. And that's what shows up in your life. Why? Because what was once a trickle has now opened up to a larger stream, or you become the stream through which the presence of God can flow. And that's what we're working on. We're working on becoming that stream. We're working, and how do we get there? It's by what we think. It's all in mind. Comments, questions?
I think you need to stop. We're going to go till midnight tonight, if that's okay.
Oh, yes, yes. We have a question in the audience.
Visualize it as there's no separation between God and us, and the omnipresence is everywhere. Like the wave is in the ocean, and the ocean is in the wave. That's how I kind of connect it all. So there's no separation between God and me. We're one.
Beautiful. We're one. That's what Jesus said. The Father and I are one. That was his concept of God, and it was different and apart from the more traditional Mosaic teachings. So that understanding of and I love the God is in the wave and the wave is in God. That the ocean is in the wave and the wave is in the ocean is a great example. If you're not familiar with that, it's simply saying that God is moving and having its being in us in the same manner that we are living and moving and having our being in God. God, just like a wave is in the ocean is also in the wave that would have it ebb and flow. And so God, in the same way, is living, moving, and having its being in us, and we are ebbing and flowing in this wonderful ocean of life we call the universe. But we flow, our flow gets greater and fuller and freer when we are able to hold in mind an image or a concept of God that is larger and flowing and freer and more open and less limited and all encompassing and one, non-separate. So this is the other part of what we were talking about on Sunday.
Yep.
Yes. So the first part was recognizing your divine guidance, but the second part was activating your abundant flow. And the thought was, what is better, to have swag or to have flow? And for me, it's having flow, because if I have flow, the rest of it is going to make itself available. There won't be any need for me to, um, I'm already got, enough swag for the masses,
We
but
know this to be true.
yeah, but there won't be any need for me to be egotistical around it. It's just the expression of God working in me and through me and as me. And so we want to be like Jesus in this effort. We see Jesus as a way shower. We see Jesus as someone who models this with us. And so, as incredible and wonderful as Jesus was, he never put it in anybody's face as many people who have swag might do. We don't have to do that. We know who we are. We're confident about what it is that we can do, and we always seek the guidance of the power and the presence that lives in us and loves us so much that it wants to express through us and as us. And I'm willing to stop there unless
That's
you
a
have
great
something
place.
that you want to share.
Great place to stop.
All right. Very good. Take a deep breath because that can get deep. I hope that you do take a little time to think about that before you go to sleep tonight. How big is your God? Not big as in old, powerful, and anthropomorphic, but how expansive, how full, how complete is your God? How do you hold God? Because the way that you hold God is the way that your God is going to operate. That's the way that God is allowed to operate in your life. Why? Because we're not automatons. We are people who are making choices. We are those who have free will. We have agency over our own bodies. So God is not going to do something. God can only do for you what God can do through you. God is not going to force anything upon you. And that's the agency that you have. That's the free will that we have. God doesn't have to do that. You'll come around anyway. You'll come around. All right? I'm going to stop it right there. Think about that tonight. Think about that tonight. How big God is. And think about it not in terms of a war God, not in terms of a human being, but in terms of an energy and an intelligence and a love and a wisdom and a power and a substance and a joy and a flow that is just overwhelmingly beautiful. And then just like money on a mattress, just roll all in it. just be immersed in it and go to sleep that way and see how you wake up in the morning. All right. All right. We took all of that hour, didn't we?
Indeed, we did.
Yes, yes. And if this was inspiring to you, if this has helped you in any way, shape, or form, then we have wonderful ways in which you can support this beautiful ministry that is seeking to be a force for good in the world by awakening people's divine nature. These are some of the ways that you can give to Unity of Sacramento. Visit our website at www.unityofsacramento.com. Right there at the top of the front page, you will see a donation button. Click there to visit our safe and secure push-pay portal. Another easy way to give is through our Unity of Sacramento app. Download the app on your smartphone or tablet, and on the front page, look toward the bottom of the page for your giving heart, which will also take you to our push-pay portal. You can also write us. Send your letters to Unity of Sacramento, 9249 Folsom Boulevard, Sacramento, California, 95826. And you can always give on Cash App and Venmo, as seen on your screen. All right, that's what it was supposed to say. I was waiting on that. All right, so if you found one that you can give or you would like to give in all of those ways, then this is your time to do it. We want to bless you and bless your tithes and offerings unto God. And we do it this way. We say, divine love in and through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. Amen. All right. And so the prayer field is activated and the blessing is gone abound, and it is blessing your life in ways you can expect and that you don't expect. Ah, what a great night.
I told you it was going to be a great night.
You did. You said that right at the top of the hour.
Because I had that guidance. I came in and I knew how this was going to go.
Fantastic. Fantastic. And we hope you have the guidance too. And we end in this prayer for you, knowing that the light of God surrounds you, the love of God enfolds you, the power of God protects you, and the presence of God watches over you. Wherever you are, God is, and all is well. Thanks so much for being here. Remember, we're open on Sundays. Come in person. Come on to church. We have a wonderful youth Sunday to look forward to this Sunday.
Yes.
All of our youth will take over various aspects of the ministry. They will be on the cameras. They will be doing the ushering. They will do the announcements. They will be singing. And our sermon will be entitled, Raise Up. Raise Up. All right. Thanks so much for being here. God bless you. God loves you. And so do I.